All right, this is the Wings Mobile Detailing podcast. Today, the topic's going to be on automotive detailing, on why you should not reach perfection when doing paint correction on a car. What else are we going to cover? And Arsalan is obviously here.
Hey guys, yeah, we're gonna be covering paint correction, how to take care of your new vehicle, and why, to what extent you should take your paint correction.
That's kind of what I just said.
I was just expanding on what you said.
Oh. Alright. Arsalan. Alright, stay with the introduction here. We got detailer specialist here, Arsalan Karimi. And you guys are going to learn a lot from detailers and non-detailers. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Wings Mobile Detailing Business and Automotive Podcast, the only podcast that will guide you on how to start and grow six-figure companies. As our team expand from one business location to worldwide domination, you will get step-by-step insights from a millennial franchisor and franchise owner with your host, Andre Mezzalira.
Arsalan.
Underland Mazzalira.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about paint corrections.
Paint correction. What is actually paint correction? I mean, we're going to reach that topic of actually why it's not worth it to reach perfection when you're correcting, compounding, polishing a car. Even if you have a lot of scratches, you do want to get as close to making it look super gloss, get a real great result.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line. You can sometimes reach the perfect result, real perfect. Sometimes it's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
Because like the paint is still, you don't want to cut through so much clear coat.
Yeah, you don't want to remove all the protection that your paint has just to remove an extra one or two scratches here and there. It's a lot of times it's not worth it. You're putting your paint in danger actually by removing all the clear coat.
Yes. So paint consists of not automotive, for I'm sure you guys know, but have the metal, and then you have the primer, and then you have the base coat, which is the paint of the car, and then on the paint on modern cars, 2000 above, whatever, they have the clear coat on top, which is that protection film from the paint. That's what gets the gloss. It's like another layer of paint, but it's clear coat, not paint.
Yeah.
And then when you're polishing that, what is going on? Like we're getting the buffer, put the compound on it. When we're polishing the paint, we're actually cutting through because there are scratches.
Yeah. And
we're gonna cut through that clear coat, and it's gonna minimize the amount of clear coat because you're cutting that surface layer of clear coat.
Yeah.
Microscopically speaking.
Yeah, a clear coat's basically almost a layer of glass, a super thin layer of glass on top of your paint that protects it against sun, scratches, things like that. So when someone keys your car, if they're damaging your paint, it has to go through the clear coat first in order to hit the paint. So if you remove, if the cut is so deep that you can't, if it's through the paint, you can't buff that out. But if it's through clear coat via paint correction, a lot of times you can remove it, but sometimes it's not worth it because it's almost completely through the clear coat. But when it comes to what paint correction consists of, it's basically removing swirls, scratches, just imperfections from the clear coat. And how do you do that? With wet sanding, compounding, polishing, just abrasive things. So compound and polish, I'm sure everyone's familiar with wet sand, but they're basically a liquid form of wet sand with just higher grit, so they're less abrasive. But what they're doing is with the compound or polish, when you're doing that on the clear coat, you're removing a thin layer of that protection. You're removing a little bit of that clear coat, leveling out scratches, swirls, and things like that. Yeah. So
you're technically getting the clear coat out. I've gotten a client before where he had a real nice car. I think we did it wasn't an exotic car, a real nice car, and he willing to pay to get the paint to perfection. It was a black car.
Yeah.
And sure, and we can get it to perfection. We can do all the steps necessary to cut with a compound. Technically, we can.
Yeah.
But sometimes, clients sometimes they don't understand. I'm willing to pay for it. Would you get it to perfection? Then we have to explain the reason why. Hey, we could, But this is what happens, just like you said, what happens when you're putting compound and the more you polish or compound, which is the same thing. They're abrasives that's cutting the clear coat of the car, or paint if it's a one-staged. And the more we do that, the more we're diminishing it. And sometimes, okay, I can get it to perfection, but I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I'd rather not detail it to perfection, correct it to perfection, because the more we're doing it, the more so there's a fine line.
Yeah.
Where we always talk to our clients and we always explain to them that fine line, right? Okay, this is the result you're gonna get. It still can look great.
Right.
If you want to still, if you don't care, you want us to do it to perfection, we're happy to do it.
Right.
But we're always explaining, this is the result you get if we still do it reasonably safe for your clear coat.
Yeah.
Meaning there's still enough clear coat for if you want to polish again in the future, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
You still have that clear coat there if you want to do it again. And so if we do that, it's better because then we're getting the car looking great. It's a black color.
Yeah.
You're still going to have some minor scratches here and there, but it's better to have those there than to jeopardize the amount of clear coat that's on the car.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to remove the entire clear coat just to remove the scratch with it. It's not worth it. I've explained to a client that wanted to take out a big scratch from their back bumper. We're gonna have to remove basically the entire clear coat because that's so close to taking the paint away too. It's that deep in. At that point, your paint has no protection. If you want to wax it or seal it, unless you ceramic coat it, then it might be worth it. But even then, you don't want to have absolutely almost like no clear coat, just because even something minor that hits it, then you can't fix that later on just because there's no clear coat. It hit the paint already. So yeah, there's a fine line. You have to explain it to clients because clients don't know how deep a scratch is. They just want it removed. They just don't want to see it anymore.
And looking in that perspective, okay, you can reach perfection, then why don't you do it? Then it's nice to open up, explain to the client. And when you buy a new car, obviously when you buy a new car and you want to do a full paint correction, I mean, man, the clear coat is thick,
Right.
Our detailer, Josh, he was doing a car and he noticed, I think, what is the clear coat depth? Is it like 0.5 millimeters? It's like 3 sheets of paper.
I think it's the equivalent of like a plastic, like the thickness of plastic. Yeah.
I heard it was like 3. I know it was like 0.5 millimeters. The paint that's somewhere there. So when you're cutting, it's really speaking microscopically. The product that we're cutting it with. What was I talking about?
Removing how much clear coat there is and how much you should remove, how much you shouldn't remove. When is it the right time to take out a scratch and when not? Especially if you're not ceramic coating it, which ceramic coat I think we've explained in a couple of our videos. It's basically again another layer of glass on top of your paint. So if you can cut deeper and then ceramic coat it, but if you're just gonna wax it or just put a sealant on it, which these are just oils, they're not gonna protect against scratches. They're not hard layers. So when it comes to if you remove, let's say if it's 0.5 clear coat, if you're removing 0.4 of that clear coat to remove the scratch and put a wax on top of it, it's not worth it. First of all, the shine is going to be gone as well. A lot of the shine is going to be gone just because there's almost no clear coat left.
And now on the other part, if somebody's looking into buying a new car and they just get it out of the dealership, let's say, oh, I got scratches on my car. Some people buy a new car and have the dealership detail it, which can be a mistake depending on the dealership.
Right.
It really depends. Because if you have a new car, okay, if you don't need to do polishing or compounding it, you don't do it. That's another thing. It's not the more polish you do, the better. No, the more you do, it's actually the worse. Unless you need to, then good. Do it with a specialist.
The best detailer always removes the least amount of clear coat to make it as perfect as possible. So like, let's say, for example,
polish the least amount of times.
The least amount, So if you see a couple of medium scratches, the best detailer doesn't just take out the hardest pad with the most aggressive compound and just go ahead and remove everything.
To look perfect at first, because for you it's gonna look perfect.
Yeah, for you it's gonna look perfect, but But I mean, they're removing so much more clear coat. Maybe they didn't have to do that. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe they didn't have to like take all those steps to remove
Yeah.
that clear coat. So
I
at
might
some
stop
point,
saying yeah every
there's
time we talk.
there's just a balance to find, and there's tools like a gauge that you can take to a point and understand how much clear coat there is to see if it's actually safe, especially when it comes to an older car. If you're doing a paint correction on a 20-year-old car, you don't know how much clear coat there is. So if you see a medium to deep scratch, you shouldn't just just take out the most aggressive way to take it out, just because you could easily burn the paint. There might not be that much clear coat to play with.
It may look nice,
Yeah.
but as a detailer's point of view, it's better not to, just like
Right.
you said. And I have a client before also with a Lexus. He just bought it brand new,
Yeah.
took it to the dealership. The dealership decided to machine wash it. I freaked out. It was like a beautiful luxury Lexus. And he told me, hey man, I'm afraid I want those scratches off because it's a new car. Then I recommended to him, hey man, it's a new car. Let's polish it, obviously. Let's get that. But obviously, I'm gonna have that control. What's the amount of clear coat that I'm gonna cut,
Yeah.
and what's the amount that it's willing to leave it in there. Because the scratch was just one-time machine wash. We could technically remove all the scratches that was in there and still be safe part on the clear coat, talk. And that's what we did. We did a one-step of polish, and that's fine. If you buy a new car and you want to, something happened and you want to polish it first, it's good. But just make sure this first time, since you're polishing it anyways, make sure it's a reputable detailer, or if you know about it, just put a good coating of sealant protection, even good ceramic coating, but follow that up with a good coating of protection after the polish, because polish is not a protection. Wax sealants are protection that you put on top.
Yeah.
So always follow up with a good coating of sealant, because then if it's not protected well after you polish the car, then you want to avoid coming back, polish it once again.
Yeah.
So at first protect that first polish so you don't have to polish again. And as a maintenance, you just reapply wax, do the sealant, or if you have ceramic coating, perfect. It's the best way to protect it. So the less you polish your car, the better it is. The more you wax your car, which is the protection, the better it is also.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're removing a lot of clear coat, especially as a new car, you're gonna get rid of a lot of depth of gloss that brand new car will bring you. But yeah, just like you said, especially if you're doing a deep correction, you should get it ceramic coated. If you're not getting a deep correction, wax or sealants will protect it against future sun damage, just minor things here and there. But yeah, a lot of times you shouldn't even, clients a lot of times don't want a mirror finish. They don't want to pay that extra $500 to remove that extra, to just want
get it
2 or 3 swirls. Yeah.
It's a good point. Remember the Audi that we did? And okay, we can get to a mirror finish. He wanted a mirror finish.
Yeah.
For you to get a mirror finish, you're going to spend more money. You're going to spend if it's a used car and you want a super paint protection, north of $1,000 sometimes.
Right, yeah.
And there's also that fine line. You can spend this much money to get to perfection and still be safe on the clear coat side.
Yeah.
But then, is it worth it because you can drive the car for 2 weeks and that extra hundreds of dollars that we spend doing your car, those imperfections are going to come back in a week. The minor one.
Right, yeah.
So sometimes there's the gap, of what, not just the amount of clear coat you cut, but what's worth.
You have to, and in that case, you have to know your client. You have to ask a lot of questions beforehand to see if they just want, they just want their car to look shiny from 5 or 6 feet away, or if they're the type of client who's going to pull out their car in the sun, look at every angle to see if there's one swirl here, one swirl there.
Yeah.
In that case, you would charge them extra, because getting a paint to 90% is a lot easier than getting it to 100%. It's so much easier.
Yes, and sometimes it's even more worth
to
get
exactly.
to 90% than 100%.
Yeah. So it's just about understanding your client, understanding their budget. If they're not willing to pay $3,000 for a paint correction, then why do a mirror finish? Because they'll never notice it. A lot of clients don't wash the cars every 5 or 6 months, or every 4 or 5 months. They don't even see the condition of their paint for most of the time.
Yeah, for standard cars.
Yeah, they don't care for that extra $500 to remove 5 or 6 more swirls here and there.
Yeah.
So it's just about understanding your client. It's about understanding the clear coat, and it's about knowing what kind of protection you're going to put on there. So if you know, if you're just putting it,
And for one of the things, if one of this car that we did, for example, we spent 12 hours working on the car because we're reaching perfection, man.
5 guys, yeah. I mean,
Oh
that's
my God, that was
60
a
hours
day.
of paint correction.
We were doing perfection. Why?
Yeah.
Because the client was like, I don't care about the clear coat. I want it perfect. I want to take it to a car show.
Exactly, yeah.
And I want it perfect. It's like, okay, let's go full on. Obviously, we're not gonna cut through the all clear coat. We're still, gonna be responsible and live clear coat on there.
Yeah.
It's the least we can do. But we still went to perfection. Cut it compound, isopropyl alcohol, polish.
Yeah.
And we got that paint to perfection.
I mean, that was a mirror finish. We've done a few cars like that, but we charge them the right price.
It comes at a price, but he wanted it. He took the car to a car show, won first place.
Yeah, and it's worth it for him. Yeah, because he won awards, and it's not his daily driver. So those extra scratches or swirls is not going to come back within just a few weeks or a few months.
And we put ceramic coating on that car too.
Yeah, and we put 2 layers of ceramic on there.
So he wanted. Although he wanted perfection, that was good because we still left clear coat on that because the car has a lot of clear coat to think about.
It wasn't that old, yeah.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot to actually cut through all the clear coat with compounding.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of goes at it.
Yeah, so it's not like I'm super worried about it. We're not trying to freak anybody out because it takes a lot.
But it depends on the paint. We're talking about a 2014, sorry, 2014, right? R8.
R8,
but
Audi R8.
If it was a 2004, let's say, and if it was a daily driver, then the clear coat was probably a lot more damage. You probably couldn't compound them out as much.
Oh yeah, there's that understanding the paint also. Yeah. And with the type of paint also, real quick, just to throw it out in there, I was actually talking to Josh, our detailer, the other time, and we're doing a antique. In fact, I went there this morning. I was an antique blue Mercedes.
Josh. I hate Josh. He always gets the good appointments.
It was an antique blue Mercedes, and the clear coat on that Mercedes, because back then cars from around '98, especially Mercedes, they were the first ones that came out with clear coat.
Yeah. Not
with a one-stage paint.
Yeah.
And so it was really thin. It's not nowadays that the clear coat on the car are thick. You can cut compound.
Yeah, it's a lot
Back
stronger.
then, on Mercedes and BMWs, when they first come out with clear coat, they're the first cars to have it. The clear coat they would apply really, really thin. And so we're applying compound on some scratches. It was already hazing up. I was like, man, the clear coat is getting out, So we're like, obviously we control. We can have meters also. There's the meter that you can measure the depth of the clear coat.
Yeah.
But there's also that to account for, and detailers would know. Detailers would tell, okay, you'd rather keep that scratch in there, sir. I'll tell him than to jeopardize your clear coat.
A lot of times you can blemish that scratch out, but you don't have to take it 100% out. You can make it to the point that you barely see it, instead of removing the whole clear coat just to remove the scratch as well. So it's just about finding the balance, having the right tools, and understanding what your client's actually looking for.
Yeah, and if you are a client, you can ask detailers or continue listening to our podcast.
Or just give us a call. Even if you're not in Virginia, we can answer some of your questions. Or if you're in Virginia, give us a call and we'll take care of it for you.
There you go. Or if you're in Alaska or out of the country, Europe, still take care of you. Not go. I mean, you by phone. We'll find somebody reputable. All right, guys. This is the Wings Mobile Detailing Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. I think somebody wants to get in. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe. This is a business and automotive podcast.
Yes, sir.
So we cover both topics. And if you guys are interested in learning more about detailing, just look at the description, wingsmobiledetailing.com.
Or vb.wingsmobiledetailing.com.
Yeah, just go Wings, RVA. It's better. We're franchisees here. We're competing. Not really. All right, thank you guys. 19 seconds.